So Nigel, you've come down to Thurrock today to support Tim Aker in his campaign to be Thurrock MP. You obviously came very close last time, like under 1,000 votes in it. What do you think it is this time that's going to push him over the edge?
Local issues, probably. Well, two things. Local issues, things like the Thames crossing, which the MP has not been doing anything about at all. So they're important fact. But I think the other thing is that Tim's record here, through the council, through local campaigns, through this office and all the rest of it, I think he's much better established with the wider community here now than he was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And that does make a difference. Ultimately, I know it's about Corbyn versus May and all of those things, but actually, when people vote at a local level, they do also think who is best going to represent us.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So, obviously, Paul Nuttall's taken over as leader now. What kind of a job do you think he's been doing so far?
Well, look, I think he had a very tough job. I think those that support me would say I'm dominant. Those that don't like me would say I'm domineering. I can live with both of those, actually. And so obviously me going, after a very long time, and having been so clearly identified with the party, it was going to leave a bit of a hole. And it was going to take him time to fill that gap. And I said 6 weeks ago, all the party leaders have got 6 weeks to prove themselves in this campaign. And I think Paul has got stronger and stronger as the campaign's gone on. I thought the big debate the other night, I thought apart from the audience being ridiculous, why we're all paying money to the BBC to give us that rubbish, I've no idea. But not, of course, that I'm here to foment, law breaking on a huge scale. I could never do that. But I thought if you actually looked at how difficult it... there were 6 Remainers on the platform against him, and an audience that was completely against him. And I think if you look at how he dealt with that and the answers he gave, I think he's doing well.
Mm-hmm. And you talked about national issues. Do you think, obviously that's played a big part so far, do you think how the national campaign is going, do you think that will impact on Tim's campaign?
Well, look, when May called the election and said, I'm the Brexit Prime Minister, this is what this is what this election's about, a lot of UKIP voters thought, crikey, if it's her or the coalition of chaos, we're going to have to vote for her. And that was a highly effective launch for the Conservative Party. As the weeks have gone on, the Labour position, although confused, is a bit more Eurosceptic than it was to begin with. So the actual differences have become slightly narrower. And as far as she's concerned, the 18th of April, she launches the campaign. She's the strong Brexit Prime Minister, and you get the manifesto, and we're going to stay part of the European Court of Human Rights, even though previously we weren't going to. In terms of fishing, I don't think the boys in the Thames estuary are very impressed that it's not really very robust in many ways. And when Paxman asks her 4 times, do you now believe in Brexit? She can't answer. So I think for all of those reasons, UKIPers that might have panicked a few weeks ago, now think, well, actually, it looks a bit like this Prime Minister may well backslide. On immigration, it's almost laughable, isn't it? She says, I'm going to reduce it to tens of thousands a year, just as they did in 2015, just as they did in 2010, and no one believes them. So the arguments that we do need, UKIP to be, Paul Nuttall said still on the pitch, but I think more than that, the argument that we need some UKIP voices there saying, whoa, hang on a second, this is not what people voted for. I think that argument's become more powerful as the last 2 or 3 weeks have unfolded.
Yeah. And Tim, so Nigel, obviously, he had such a successful campaign 2 years ago, but he's taken a step back now, but he's still come back, specifically for Thurrock. It's obviously a very important seat for the party. You come very close. What does it mean to you that Nigel's come down to support you today?
Great vote of confidence. This is the man that got me in it. And to have him come and support me again.
Yeah, it's going to cost you a drink at lunchtime. You do
Only one? No, it's great, and to see so many people here. We're going to win, aren't we?
Yay!
So yeah, it's great.
Yeah. And what is the message that you're going to be giving out to voters today and, for the rest of the week as we build up towards, the big vote on June 8th?
Thurrock needs a new MP. We've been let down for 7 years. 7 years of failure, 7 years of cuts, 7 years of not listening to the people, not being visible. Jackie Dall-Price has failed Thurrock. John Kent failed Thurrock when he was leader of the council. People are coming to us now as they come into this office for help because they see us here. We're available, we're accessible, we're open to the borough, we're going to fight for the borough.
And obviously, you've got a good chance of winning here. But if you are the only MP for UKIP that gets into government, what kind of a difference will you realistically be able to make?
In 1999, there were three of us elected to the European Parliament, and the question the next day was to me, well, what difference can it make with just three of you out of 700 in that whole place who are Eurosceptics? Well, as I said to them after the referendum last year, they might have laughed at me on that day, but they're not laughing now. Establishing toeholds and building from there, it's amazing what you can do.
Yeah, but I suppose particularly because we're going to leave, the vote was won. What more, what's the toehold? What can you do?
Well, we won the First
you
World
get
War,
in?
didn't we, militarily, but we lost the peace dramatically and had to do it all again. And the referendum was us winning a great war against the establishment, one that could never have happened without UKIP. We were the catalyst. We frightened the pants off the establishment. That's why they promised us a referendum. They hope they never have to give it to us. They did. They lost it. We've won a remarkable war, but we now have to win the peace. And what I see is a Prime Minister. I mean, frankly, she is a weathercock, not a signpost. She twists and turns on everything. She U-turns on national insurance for the self-employed after the budget. She U-turns on social care after the manifesto launch. And when she's asked by City AM yesterday if she went to lunch in the city, would she prefer to go to the Coq d'Argent or Simpson's Tavern? She says Simpson's Tavern, to which the reporter says, do you realise that's Nigel Farage's favourite drinking hall in the City of London? She then changes her mind and says Coq d'Argent. She even U-turns on where she wants to go to lunch.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to trust this woman to take us into negotiations without a strong UKIP voice saying, hey, hang on, that's not what people voted for. And that's the point.
But I suppose particularly on the Lower Thames Crossing, you made a big play of, you're going to review it again. That's in the manifesto, the national manifesto. But then, I mean, if you're the only MP in government, how can you push towards that?
Because what they won't want are little patches of purple becoming a rash next time round. So it's remarkable the power that an individual can have.
Well, look at us here on the council. In 2012 there was one, now there's 17. And we missed out being the largest party by one vote last year. One vote.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Remarkable. The revolution's just begun.
So despite the Brexit vote being over now and you've won that, you still think there's a good future for the party?
Absolutely. Do you think the likes of Blair and Mandelson are not going to exploit any crisis in the future as a reason to not take us back in?
Mm-hmm. And what will that purpose be in the future then? What do you see?
Well, look, does anybody seriously think that immigration numbers to Britain are going to radically fall over the course of the next 5 years? I don't. I'm sure most voters don't. And if that impacts downstream on a constituency like this, where the chances of your own children getting on the housing ladder are much worse than yours were as middle-aged or older people, then actually what's going to change? And I really hope I'm wrong. I really hope Theresa May surprises me. I hope she, unlike her time as Home Secretary, does all the things that she set out to say she would do on April the 18th when she launched this campaign. But every week that goes by, I become less and less confident that this woman is actually going to deliver. So I think there's a lot of this job that still needs to be finished.
Yeah, and Tim, I don't know what your personal ambitions are, but Nigel, you've been leader. Do you think if Tim was the only MP in the UKIP MP in government, do you think there'd be a good case for Tim Aker as leader?
Do you know something?
God.
I don't know. I don't know what your ambitions are, but
I wouldn't wish that job on my worst enemy. I'm out of it. Damn. You've got to remember that and you saw that in the debate the other night, we took on the whole establishment. The entire political and media and big business establishment had gone with the pro-EU direction. They've been on that direction for decades. And we came along and challenged it, and my goodness me, they made my life pretty tough for years and years and years for doing it. So whoever wants to be UKIP leader, they've got to have even more than a thick skin, I tell you.